I feel like this needs to be cleared up about the whole evolution debate. Evolutionists and proponents for evolution, molecules to man evolution, we all believe in, a certain amount of adaptation and evolution. So the word is a little bit, but what I'm talking about is, believing everything is related. We're all related to hamsters, tomatoes, earthworms, etc. That's the thing there's zero evidence for, And all dogs descending from wolves does not prove that dogs are related to tomatoes or tobacco, at all. And every single piece of evidence you can give has other viable explanation. Another viable, equally viable, actually more viable in my opinion, explanation, intelligent design. So the thing I wanted to clear up though is people get very upset, evolutionists get very upset when you imply or just outright say that they haven't read up on the subject. And what I mean by that is the problems with evolution. One of the biggest problems with evolution, actually the biggest problem, is it's not treated like a theory. Even though on paper it's called the theory of evolution, the proponents of the theory of evolution get very upset when you call it a theory. Some of them even call you a lunatic. They're very, sometimes they'll right out say it's a fact, and anyone who says it's not a fact is crazy or stupid or etc. And it's like the most dishonest thing you can say, by the way. Because it's treated like a fact, nobody ever talks about the problems with evolution. So when you actually debate the subject, this is why Christian apologists usually avoid this topic, because anyone who's actually argued against evolution knows it's just a pain in the ass, because it's 2 or 3 hours of just educating your opponent. And that's not a diss against evolutionists at all. It's not really their fault, because nobody talks about the problems with evolution, so they don't even know what they are. So they're not even prepared for them. And this is why they usually get utterly devastated. And it's not a very good feeling. It's usually embarrassing when someone is destroyed in debate. They don't, it doesn't necessarily, nobody wants to look bad in public, and so they end up getting angry, and it causes a big scene a lot of the time when they're the one who started it. Because it's so angering to evolutionists when you raise questions against it. Even just raising questions. I've literally just said I have some questions about it. And it's infuriating to them. Literally, out of one side of their mouth saying, oh, it's a theory. Technically, it is a theory, but you're not allowed to ask questions. The other side of the mouth, how dare you? How dare you ask these questions? Just saying I have questions is like, wow, you're a science denier. I can't believe this is the reaction I get from people anyway, is anger. Like, I can't believe you're such a science denier. I can't believe you're this or that. And then you absolutely destroy every single one of their arguments, and they're still screaming, I can't believe you're a science denier. It's just a pain in the ass, because so many people believe it because it's been drilled into their heads since the time they were little kids. Everyone, including me, it's been drilled in, it's drilled into our heads that it's just a fact, right? You descended from earthworms. That it's just, a lot of people are automatically going to disagree just because it's been drilled into their head. In fact, most people are. Most people are automatically going to disagree just because science says it's true. Science says it's true, even though the theory of evolution is not a part of science at all. There's nothing scientific about it. It's primarily imagination. The evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks are made up of entirely imagination. That's Stephen Jay Gould, evolutionist, said that. They're not based on one iota of fact. They're entirely imagination. It's all. Anytime you have the word evolution in front of a science, like evolutionary psychology, evolutionary biology, that's not a real science. You realize that, right? That's literally guys just mentally masturbating, sitting there and mentally masturbating. I wonder, maybe this is a good explanation for this, or maybe that, or wait, no, the reason why this developed just because of this. They have no way of actually knowing that. They have no empirical evidence. It's all just like, oh, this makes sense as to why that evolved that way. So that's why it evolved that way. And I'm not saying there's no truth to it, but you could literally add you could change the word evolve to into we're programmed to, and it makes just as much sense, if not more. Literally, anything. Pick anything. It makes just as much sense. So say women evolved to look for dominant men. Let's say, that's evolutionary psychology thing to say, right? It makes just as much sense to say women were programmed to look for dominant men. It makes actually, if not more sense. So anyway, guys, it's not an insult because everyone's basically been brainwashed from the time they're a little kid to believe in evolution. So it's not an insult to say you're not educated on the problems with evolution because nobody talks about them. Because everyone in the scientific community just treats it like a fact. Because they treat it like a fact, they don't ever open it up to questions. And once you actually open it up to questions, you find out, holy shit, there's actually a lot of problems with that. And, even prominent evolutionists now are starting to say, yeah, there's some problems with it. Like, maybe there was some sort of intelligent creator at some point. Maybe aliens, maybe this. Oh, but they'll never say God for some reason. It's always something else. It's just this infinite regress of causes, right? It has to be that original first cause. So anyway, guys, I don't have any more time, but thanks for listening to my rant. See you guys later.